I get reminded on a daily basis why New Zealand's just such a fabulous place to work and live. The work-life balance is tremendous. We've got a huge variety in medicine. You'll find that the care that you're giving is across all sorts of different modalities, different treatments. Everyone especially respects each other's profession, and there's a lot of cultural richness. The lifestyle is fabulous when you're thinking about what to do after work, go swimming at the beach, go hiking or tramping, and also the community impact, the impact that you will have as a physio or a medical profession coming to New Zealand. You'll find that you have a really big impact into the care here.
Today on the Physi-ed podcast, I'm joined by Prudence Thompson from Accent Health Recruitment in New Zealand. Prudence is a registered nurse by background and also the founder, manager and co-owner of Accent Health Recruitment. Over the last 20 years, Prudence and her team have helped hundreds of healthcare professionals, such as doctors, nurses, midwives and allied health professionals, successfully find work and relocate to New Zealand, including myself. During this episode, we cover everything from how the healthcare system works to how to get registration and, of course, what we both love about New Zealand as a country, along with how Accent can support you to get the role and the lifestyle that you want. If you're a physiotherapist or a healthcare professional thinking of moving to New Zealand for work, then this is definitely worth a listen. So, Prue, kia ora, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, kia ora, ka kite and welcome. It's the morning here in New Zealand. Appreciate it's the evening for you, but great to be talking to you.
Thank you very much. So today we're going to be discussing what it's like to live and work in New Zealand, how the healthcare system compares to the UK, along with the process for getting registration in New Zealand. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a physiotherapy bias to what we're chatting about today, but I imagine what we discuss will be really useful for anybody working in health who's thinking of moving overseas for work, in particular, obviously, New Zealand. So firstly then, Prue, we've both worked in the UK, we've both worked in New Zealand, and I know you've also worked in the Middle East as well. Work aside, why New Zealand? What is it about New Zealand that you love and that makes it home for you and so many other people who want to move over there?
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I get reminded on a daily basis why New Zealand's just such a fabulous place to work and live. The work-life balance is tremendous. We try to avoid work burnout and we give people a lot of flexible time, especially mums and dads with children and working school hours. We've got a huge variety in medicine. Even though we're a small country and a smaller population, you'll find that the care that you're giving is across all sorts of different modalities, different treatments, and you cover quite a wide patient population. We really have great teamwork. Everyone, especially in allied health, respects each other's profession. And there's a lot of cultural richness with the Māori and the Pacifica. And also the Asian influence, a lot of British immigrants. So a lot of people coming from overseas into New Zealand brings real cultural mixing pot. The lifestyle is fabulous when you're thinking about what to do after work, go swimming at the beach, go hiking or tramping, and really enjoy the cafes and the food. And also the community impact, the impact that you will have as a physio or a medical profession coming to New Zealand. You'll find that you have a really big impact into the care here.
I think you've hit on so many big things. I mean, obviously, we came out to New Zealand and were there for a while. And I think, like you said, the work-life balance was one of the biggest things for us. You didn't feel pressured to be in work for long periods. It was very much, you were almost expected that you would be going away, doing something at the weekend, especially with a young family. We found that go to the beach at the end of your day to close to home was fantastic. And it sounds like that's something you find for yourself and for a lot of people who move over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the outdoor activities, because the weather is so good mostly in New Zealand, you can plan a lot of activities outdoors, and a lot of these activities are free as well.
That makes a massive difference. And I think, for anybody who's outdoorsy, it's a fantastic place to be. And even the South Island, I was in Auckland in the North Island. It's classed as subtropical, I think, isn't it, up there? But you're based down in Christchurch, is that right? Which is obviously a lot further south.
Yeah, we're the centre of the South Island, and our recruitment covers the whole of New Zealand. We recruit all medical professionals from overseas into New Zealand. Speaking of the sporty and the outdoors, we find that physios are the sportiest bunch out of all the occupations that we recruit. And they really, really love and they're drawn to the outdoors and the activities, the triathlons, the hiking, the rock climbing, the kayaking, everything. And it's just so much more affordable than it is outside New Zealand and the US or the UK.
Absolutely. And even just the barbecues. I mean, that's something that I really miss is
Yep.
just coming home, sticking the barbecue on and sitting out on the deck, which is
Yep.
great. I think the other thing as well that we found, and I'm sure you found this with other people, is the people so friendly, so accommodating. I mean, we moved over there, my wife and I, and we didn't know anybody in New Zealand at all.
Yep.
And we had so much help and support from our landlord, from our neighbours, with furniture, with getting from A to B, with fixing things if they went wrong. And I know you see the world differently when you're an expat in another country, but it was very, very nice community feel, which I think is another draw for a lot of people over there.
Yep, absolutely. We talk about a Maori saying, which is he tangata, which is the people. And it is, I get feedback from customs arriving into New Zealand all the way through to getting to your apartment and starting work. It's the people that make a difference.
And the same in the work environment, the staff, the people around you. And that's not to say that there's the people over here aren't nice, but that really stood out to us, I think, being two people that didn't know anybody on our own over there. Was a really, really nice atmosphere, felt like a really safe country, and so much to do, like you say, and so affordable. You don't have to spend lots of money because the weather's so good. You can go out. It's easy to meet people and make friends. Like you say, the people around, there's such variety of culture that I think you really feel quite at home in New Zealand, wherever you're from. I feel like we might as well move on from that because we could probably talk for some time on
Yeah.
on that. But thinking clinically then, in terms of how the healthcare system compares to the UK, obviously there's a lot of avenues we could go down with this. But in terms of the major differences, for example, the UK, things I think are starting to change a little bit, but there is a very heavy bias towards working in the NHS in clinical training. You know, that's still generally where we start to prepare students for as an educator, and we're starting to now be aware that we need to prepare students better for privately. But even though I'd worked privately when I came out to New Zealand, the ACC system, it was still a big change for me. I was seeing a lot more acute stuff than I would see out here, seeing patients on different contracts, working in a very different way. So I wonder if you could perhaps just spend a minute or two just briefly summarise the ACC system and some of the key sort of differences and things to expect over there.
Yeah, look, I think ACC, Accident Compensation Corporation, is probably one of the best schemes, which is a compulsory liability and insurance, which is one of the best schemes in New Zealand. So if you hurt your leg in the weekend, if you hurt your leg at work, if you drop a patient and they hurt their leg, everything is no fault. So you can't be sued. It's non-litigious. And also your recovery is paid for. So your physiotherapy, your OT, your psychologist, your surgery is covered by ACC. It has a really wide scope of injuries and it's very much rehabilitation focused. So it's all about getting people back into work, and especially within vocational rehab, getting people back into work, whether it's 2 hours a week, 10, 30. It's really, really great for the well-being for the patient and also for the employer to know that that person's supported back into the workforce. Patients can come straight to physios. They don't need a referral. And that means that they can lodge their claim via the physio as well. So ACC is fabulous. It covers things like sunburn, bee stings, mental health trauma, and obviously accidents that happen inside and outside the home and the workplace. So I think ACC is fabulous and it's a very, very good system.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think so. You've got the ACC system, and you've still got the public system, haven't you? That's there for things like strokes, chronic conditions, things like that would treat you. And I think you'd still, a lot of people have health insurance, but the public system is very much accessible for everybody. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's the case, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, if you had an appendicitis or found a lump or a bump, the New Zealand health system isn't 100% perfect, but it's very, very close. And it is very accessible for all ages and cultures. And whilst some of the smaller hospitals don't cover what one of the big tertiary hospitals cover, you still get very good care and can be referred.
Absolutely, yeah. So the ACC then is the other side of that, and it's like a compulsory insurance scheme, isn't it? Basically for anything.
Compulsory. Yep.
That's a day, a time, a mechanism, and it'll go through ACC. And I think you pay in. I think so. So for example, if you play rugby, your subs for rugby will be higher than if you play bowls, because obviously you're more likely to get injured. Or if you work as a roofer compared to somebody in office, the company tariff would reflect that. Is that right as well?
Yes. Yeah, the company will pay slightly higher, but as an individual, you pay a very small amount per hourly rate.
Fantastic. And I think that was something that was so interesting for me when I came from here. I was working in a clinic that saw a lot of whiplash, so a lot of car accidents. And I think the system has changed. We're going back nearly 10 years now. The system has changed a lot, but there was so much litigation associated with that, so many other biopsychosocial factors feeding into these things and other considerations. Whereas New Zealand, that blew me away, that you can't sue somebody for an accident. The deal is that you get all your care, whether that's psychological, physical, permanent support, whatever it may be, is covered, but you can't sue that person. And that blew me away. I thought that was I think it does divide a few people, but I thought it was as a healthcare professional, I thought that was a really good way of managing that, and for me anyway.
Yep. Excellent.
Yes. So, and that was the other thing, I think, for me, obviously working as a physiotherapist, it removes that extra step to get treatment, doesn't it? You could walk down the street, sprain your ankle and walk into a physio clinic. You don't need a referral.
Yep.
Or limp in, absolutely, yeah. Or be dragged in if it's really bad. But yeah, ultimately, you can get treatment straight away, and there may be a surcharge associated with that that the company may impose on there, but really the ACC, the company, the clinic lodges that, and then they get paid by ACC, don't they? So in terms of the ACC system then, what's the perception of that over there? Do people find that it's effective over there in New Zealand?
Yeah, so ACC's very well regarded in New Zealand. A lot of people try and check the system, as you can imagine, and try and get compensation, but generally it's very well respected and people work well within the boundaries that ACC's.
Mm-hmm. I think that the other thing that struck us with working clinically over here, a bit more of a challenge, is things like investigation. So blood tests. You don't phone up your GP and you've got to come down at 2:00 next Thursday afternoon to have a blood test at that time. You walk into a labs test facility, don't you? And I always said it was like the old cheese counters we used to have in the UK, where you'd go and take a ticket and you take a sit down and they call you through and they take your blood, and the same with scans and x-rays, ultrasounds. All physios can order x-rays and ultrasounds in New Zealand once they qualify. I know that was the thing, is you just write a referral and they can get that done potentially that day if it's an x-ray.
So physiotherapists are able to organise ultrasounds and scans, which is brilliant. But it gives them the opportunity to, work along the multidisciplinary team, get the investigations underway, and have sort of more autonomy.
Yeah, and being able to access them so quickly, I think, is massive. Certainly coming from the UK with that. So we've spoken quite a bit then about New Zealand, living and working over there. Let's maybe chat a little bit about registration then. I remember when I went through the registration process back in 2016, it was quite a time-consuming process, but ultimately wasn't too bad. It was more about getting all the right stuff, putting it in the right place rather than doing lots of work. But I remember submitting a file a few inches thick, posting it off, having to send some other bits back. And I think when we spoke before, that's changed now. They've now got this express pathway, which I did a little bit of research into after we spoke, and it sounds like for people from the UK, South Africa, places like that, it's a lot more straightforward. Could you perhaps give us a bit of a summary of what that's like for people?
So there's an express pathway, and only takes 2 or 3 weeks once you've completed the application. You're eligible for this as a UK, Canadian, and South African physio. And most people, obviously from Ireland as well, are eligible to apply to the express pathway. You obviously need just identity documents like your passport and birth certificate and evidence of your qualification. And we also need to verify your registration with the HCPC in the UK. These are of good standing. Obviously, you'll have English proficiency, a police clearance, and a detailed resume or CV. So it's a very standard, very user-friendly registration process. We encourage people to get registration prior to having an interview with an employer. You submit the application online. It costs around 1,000 New Zealand dollars. That's around £600. And the physio board review your application. And usually it's very, very straightforward. So the physio registration now is one of the most straightforward registrations for medical professionals.
And I remember when we did it, you had to be working for 4 years because obviously your degree is a 4-year undergraduate degree and ours is a 3-year. So I think for us, we have to have done that extra year of clinical as well. Is that still a thing or could you go straight from qualifying and apply down the express pathway?
Ideally, you need 1 year's postgraduate experience at the bare minimum. And you really want to consolidate your experience in your home country off your own learning in familiar surroundings.
So you would need to qualify an extra. So you would qualify, do an extra year of clinical practice, and then after those 4 years, you could then apply down the express pathway. I think I remember from memory, for anybody thinking of doing that, what I would say is keep everything you can from your study, your university, all your supervision records, because I remember that mad scramble for academic transcripts and other bits of paper that I knew I'd got somewhere but couldn't find. So keeping all that to hand, it was really useful. Brilliant. And then are there things as well? Do you have to write reflect? Is there some cultural competence training and stuff as well that you need to do as part of that? Or?
Yeah, so you're welcome to. We can send you through the link which has all the instructions. But understanding the Treaty of Waitangi, which is our New Zealand historical document that was signed to protect our Indigenous people, and I'm sure that all physios in the UK, all around the world, are culturally sensitive to Indigenous people, especially in the healthcare space.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that that was a really good exercise. I suppose we had to write, I think it was a 2,000-word referenced essay on the Treaty of Waitangi. And I think it's a really valuable thing to do before you come and work in another country, is to learn about that and learn about where the healthcare system is at the moment.
Yep, absolutely. And to understand some of the nuances of the Māori people when you're treating a patient who identifies strongly with the Māori culture, and understanding what's important to them and their family.
That was all really, really valuable. And even if I wasn't working in healthcare, I thought it was a really good exercise for people to go through. I think that the other question people ask quite a lot is, I think when I was over there, if you did 2 years as a registered physio in New Zealand, you could then go and work in Australia. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so we don't deal with the Australian market. We're mainly New Zealand, all New Zealand. But a lot of people do a working holiday, so a couple of years in New Zealand, and then do a trans-Tasman mutual agreement and go across and work in Australia. But they've got snakes and spiders over there that are venomous, not us. So we prefer New Zealand.
I think that's a nice thing that it's so easy to travel between Australia and New Zealand because we've got Europe on our doorstep. So the ease of getting from Australia to New Zealand is a big thing for people, and that's great. Obviously, working overseas is something I get asked about a lot in my role, and as I'm sure you're aware, the healthcare market over here in the UK isn't so great at the moment for physio. I think back in June, it was The Independent that published an article about how we reckon we've had about 3,000 physio graduates this year and only 20 to 30 job adverts going out within the NHS. And I think there was one site reckoned we had about 300,000 people waiting for musculoskeletal physio. I'm not 100% certain where they've got that figure from, but either way, we've got a lot of people graduating and not a lot of jobs available, but also a very big list of people that want treatment. So, in terms of opportunity for physios, I know there's certainly not as much as there used to be. I know this isn't really a straightforward question to ask, and I promise I won't hold you to this, but what are things like in the New Zealand healthcare market at the moment? Are you having jobs coming through for physios at the moment?
Yeah. 6 months ago, we did have quite a recruitment freeze on. And they weren't hiring and they weren't replacing staff. But now that's picked up. It's opened up a little bit and there are opportunities. As long as you're flexible on specialty, timing, location, and using your best abilities. So use the acronym SALT. So if you can be working in musculoskeletal or neurology or perhaps BOP rehab, elderly care. If you're flexible on the location, so if you're happy to work in North or South Island, that's helpful. And if you're flexible with your timing, some practices will want you to start in 6 weeks. So that means exiting the UK very quickly. Other practices or hospitals will wait 4 months. But if it is competitive, you have to be ready to go. So you have to be recruitment ready, which means we do the reference check, you have your registration, and you have your resume up to date, and you're ready to apply for jobs. And when you have your interview, and we take you through all that interview coaching, when you have your interview, you must be almost ready to go. So if you've got a long resignation period, you might want to resign from that and go locuming. New Zealand will wait for you, but sometimes if you're looking at competing for the role that other people were going for, you have to be more ready and more attractive.
Yeah, so it sounds like there are things coming up, but it is obviously competitive, and it's I suppose it's about, like you say, planning, having all your ducks in the row, and having a plan before before you start
Yeah.
the process.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And
So
the good news is you can get a working holiday visa online before you come out. Very, very straightforward. It's about £80, and you can get that and apply that and not enter the country for 1 year. You can also apply for residency, and that residency process is taking about 2 or 3 weeks post submission. So once you have your job offer and your registration and you're ready to come, you can apply for whichever visa, and the visa won't take too long at all. You just need to get your registration first.
yeah, I know for us that's what we do. We came on a working holiday visa, and that was pretty much instantaneous. It wasn't too expensive, and then you can work for 12 months of that, and you can extend
Awesome.
it for another year. But I assume it's still the same. But you couldn't work more than a year in it. But then we applied for residency, and in hindsight, we wish we'd done that straight away, but we didn't. We didn't plan on staying more than a year. We just fell in love with the country and stuck it out a lot longer. Yeah, so that's great that the residency turnaround is quick as well, because I know that was a lot of paperwork and a lot of time. But I think if you're planning on staying long term, it's well worth doing that if you can, because otherwise that's a year you could be getting residency that you're doing on a working holiday visa.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I think you've already answered a lot of this already, but let's say that I am a UK physio and I'm seriously thinking about coming to New Zealand for work, and I get in touch with you tomorrow. What does that look like then from start to finish? What happens from when I send you an email tomorrow to when I get to New Zealand?
Sure. It's a real wraparound service, accent free, and we work exclusively with you. So it's our job to get you a job, but we also help out with accommodation and transport, registration, your bank account, everything that you need. Once we do go through the initial process, give you some guidance, we'll get your CV updated, assist with the registration, and then match you with a job. We'll do interview preparation with you. So we'll talk you through interview techniques, which I always liken to a first date. Be prepared, look good, and have lots of questions. We also guide you on the immigration process somewhat, and take you through the relocation and offer a lot of ongoing support throughout the process.
And I remember it was so useful and I would strongly recommend anybody do this who's thinking this. Come and meet you guys when you come over here at one of the expos, if you're still doing those, or chat to you, because it got so much information from speaking with you. And I think the only thing that you guys didn't really get too involved in was the registration process, but obviously it sounds like that's a lot more straightforward now. But the interview prep that I remember,
so easy, so simple now. Yep.
Fantastic. And I remember you even arranged transport for us from the airport, and we got a cake when we started work from you guys. So that was it was brilliant to top it off with.
Perfect. Great. Well, not everyone gets a cake, but I think we recruited 2 of you. So yeah, it was definitely a cake day.
Fantastic. No, well, thank you so much for coming on to talk to me. I think one last thing I'd like to ask you then is, if you had 3 top tips for anyone thinking of moving to New Zealand, or any final words of advice for us, what would they be?
They would be preparation, persistence, and patience. So be prepared, get your registration, get everything ready a year in advance. Be persistent, keep in touch with us, touch base once a week if need be, and be patient and wait for the right job to come along. And then just take, there's nowhere in New Zealand personally that I would not work. If I had young children, I'm not sure Auckland would be the best place depending on my specialty. If I was single, maybe I wouldn't want to work right down south, but hey, you do you and find out what suits you, and we'll match you with the right job.
Fantastic. And if people do want to get in contact with you, Prue, what's the best way for them to reach out? How would you like them to get in contact with you?
Yep, just go to accents.net.nz and we'll have all the details, contact details there. And as you'll know, Alex, we get back to you within 24 hours.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll make sure that's in the link in the description there, the link to the website. Prue, this has been a really great conversation. It's been really lovely to talk to you again, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And it's certainly made me realise how much I miss living and working in New Zealand.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I know you're just about to start your day over there, and mine is well and truly ended by now, so I think we'll wrap up there. As I said, we'll put all the details into the description below, but thank you so much for talking to me today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you. Ka kite.